The future begins with me. You have to commit yourself to changing your mindset. If you change your mindset, everything that I'm going to discuss involving overcoming anxiety is possible and highly probable. You would be well equipped to do the emotional and psychological heavy lifting needed to effect profound change in the way you perceive reality, in the way you carry yourself, as well as how you get along with others. In other words, you get a shot at living a new, more victorious life. But it all begins with your decision to change your mindset. How important are decisions? You have to understand that there's a big difference between actually deciding and thinking about making a choice. Too many people confuse the two. They think that they're making a decision when what they're really doing is that they are thinking about making a choice. They are not quite there yet. They're still weighing a lot of things. They're still considering a wide range of factors. But in their heads, they've already come to a decision. This is why a lot of people who think they have a decision end up failing because they never decided. When you decide, your mind is locked into a particular outcome. You also line up your emotional state regarding a certain issue with your decision on that issue. There's nothing wishy-washy about this mental state. You're locked in, and you have turned your motivation on. You're pumped up about the decision. Now, you may be thinking that all sorts of magical things happen after that decision point, assuming that you do reach a real point of decision. I wish it were that simple. Deciding is just the first step. When you truly decide, then it means that you're going to follow up with commitment. How important is this? You know you're committed when you continue to put in the work and the time, even though you don't feel like it. You know you have fully committed when people around you are saying you're stupid and you've made a mistake and are telling you to turn back. You know you're committed when you face one difficulty after another and all sorts of unforeseen events happen, and you still stick to it. That's the power of commitment. As awesome as that may be, that is only triggered once you have made a decision. These two go hand in hand. Changing mindsets is not easy. We're all creatures of habit. Even if we commit to change, sometimes our old habits and patterns kick in. But you have to remain focused and dedicate your willpower to overcoming your habits. Focus on what you stand to gain. Focus on the relief that you get turning your back on the things that make you feel frustrated, sad, pathetic, and angry now. If focusing on what you stand to gain is too hard or seems to be too far off or abstract for you, do the opposite. Focus on the pain of staying where you are and not changing. You see, there are basically two kinds of people in this world. On the one hand, there are people who are drawn to achievement and the better things in life. In other words, they let their desires motivate them. On the other end are people who will only lift a finger to change their circumstances when they feel that they are about to lose everything. In other words, they are motivated by fear. Here is the good news. There is no right or wrong answer. Whether you are motivated by your highest hopes, dreams, and values, or you are pushed by your fears and insecurities, it doesn't matter. What matters is you put that right foot in front of the other and you keep on walking towards that goal. So, focus on what motivates you and make that change happen. Dedicate yourself to mindset and attitude change. Set up a set of affirmations. These are short statements you say to yourself non-verbally, but very clearly as many times as you can per day. This might seem ridiculous, but affirmations work. Why? They function as conscious reprogramming of your personal narrative. If you're struggling in any area of your life, it's because you have a personal narrative that makes that struggle happen. For example, if you have a tough time honoring your commitments, you may be operating from a personal narrative that tells you that you're not a very trustworthy person or you're just too busy to commit. You really can't keep your word because you have so many other things going. Besides, deep down inside, you are a victim. Affirmations work because they allow you to consciously come up with a new program or description for yourself. The more you repeat this, the more likely it will sink in and become part of your conscious mindset. It doesn't work overnight, but through focused and dedicated repetition. Start a personal change diary. Your personal change diary may seem like a simple ministerial task. After all, you're just making entries on your personal journey to transformative change. At a certain level, it may seem like not much is happening. It might even seem like you're just going through the motions or, worse yet, just wasting your time. You should get these negative thoughts out of your head because starting and keeping a personal change diary can truly change you as you work to change your mindset, so you are less anxious every single day. How come? Well, when you look at how you started and the mindset that you had as well as your description of your personal world and compare it to who you have become, you can't help but feel motivated. Think about it this way. When you began this process, you probably thought that your anxiety and your fears were basically who you are. You feel trapped. You feel that there's just really no way you can get out of this situation because you're just stuck. This is who you are. This is ingrained in your essence as a person. But when you look at a later entry and you notice that your mindset has changed, this gives you hope. Things weren't as hopeless as you thought. It turns out that things aren't as bleak as you originally imagined. This gives you a good reason to keep pushing forward. Sure, the changes may not be all that dramatic, but there's no need to be a hero. The fact that you have changed, even in the slightest degree, is good enough for you to draw hope from. This enables you to recommit yourself. Please remember, the key to transforming your mindset so you're less anxious and less fearful and more effective as a person is commitment. The good news is that it doesn't take much for your sense of commitment to be encouraged. It just needs a simple change. Look for that change. Identify and track that change by starting and keeping a personal change diary. Recommit yourself every day to this project of changing your mindset. Celebrate the power of daily commitment. The problem with a lot of people committing to certain changes in their lives is that they think that they are already committed. After all, in their minds, they're thinking, well, I'm doing the same thing day after day, aren't I? Isn't that commitment? To a certain degree, they are absolutely correct. But to turbocharge that process and unleash the power of that daily decision to commit to a certain set of actions, regardless of what you are feeling and regardless of what's going on around us, a little bit of consciousness is required. By simply saying to yourself, I am committing today, and then the next day saying the same thing and meaning it, you line up your conscious capabilities with your habitual side. This gives you more power. This also reawakens or reminds you of your sense of purpose. Remember, you're trying to change your mindset. You're trying to do something that is very difficult to do. It usually takes a tremendous disaster for people to change their mindset or something unbelievably good. Outside of those fairly rare circumstances, people stick to their mindset. You're working on something grand. Accordingly, you have to be as conscious about the process as possible so you can attack it with full power. Challenge your mindset every day. Hanging out with difficult people is annoying and can seem like a waste of time, but it can also be a tremendous opportunity to test whether you're making progress in changing your mindset. Remember, you're not changing those people. That's not the point. The point is whether the people who used to throw you off or upset you no longer do, because that's the only way you would know if you're really making changes. You can give yourself all sorts of affirmations and you can think of all sorts of warm and fuzzy images about the change that you are trying to achieve. But until you actually pull it off in situations that normally emotionally challenge you, you're not really making progress. So, find those challenges. I know that most people would find these situations very difficult, even toxic, but that's precisely why you need to seek them out because they really push you to the limit. You're not going to grow without pain. You're not going to grow without challenges. It's going to be very hard for you to change unless you put yourself in a situation where you're not comfortable. List down the changes in your mindset. Have you stopped automatically blaming others? Have you stopped automatically blaming yourself and feeling guilty? Are you more proactive? Are you more likely to assert yourself? Are you more likely to speak your mind? What changes do you see? If you don't see enough changes, then challenge yourself more. Put yourself in situations that would normally irritate you, hurt you emotionally, and see if you can withstand and overcome. Remember, this is trial by fire, because baby steps are not going to cut it for most people. They hold back and they stop growing. You're going to have to commit yourself to this. Victory is all about consistency and constancy. It doesn't really matter how many times you think you fail. What matters is that when you get knocked down, figuratively speaking, you spring back up. Sure, it hurts the first time around and you probably want to linger on the floor, but eventually you get used to it. Eventually you toughen up. And before you know it, you reach a point where you get knocked down and you spring back up. That's called emotional grit. That means that you will stick to your path no matter what, and that is a sign of maturity and progress.